A few months ago, Apple released the iPhone Air, a phone that is marketed as being incredibly thin, light, and something that will almost disappear while you're carrying it. And I know if you're watching this video, you probably know it, but that phone is not small. It is thin, but it's big. And I think this just highlights the fact that manufacturers have gotten away from making small smartphones. No longer are we seeing devices like this, the iPhone 13 mini. This phone was only released for 2 generations from Apple. It wasn't a big seller for them, so they discontinued it. But today I'm going to be talking about why I think the iPhone 13 mini is still very relevant today and very much a great option into 2026. If you don't know me, I'm Spencer, and I like to talk about simple living, frugality, and digital minimalism. Let's get into it. To start off with why this phone is so great, of course, the first is the size. Now I have a few different phones here for comparison, but you can kind of get a sense of just how small this thing is by looking at these. Now beside here, I have the original iPhone 5. This is, I think, the same size as the iPhone SE first generation. It's a very small phone. As you can see beside the iPhone 5, the mini isn't that mini. In fact, if it came out at the same time as the iPhone 5, they would have had to call it the Plus. I think that really puts the changing phone sizes in perspective for you. Next up though, we have the next generation of iPhone, which is the iPhone 6. This is the original iPhone 6, and here side by side with the mini, now we're seeing that we're somewhere. Body-wise, the mini is a good bit smaller than the iPhone 6, but it does have that added benefit of more screen real estate because of the edge-to-edge screen. Now here's a more fair comparison of the iPhone 13 mini side by side to a Google Pixel 8. Compared to the Pixel, this thing is definitely starting to look a bit more mini. So as you can see, the 13 mini, it's not the smallest phone ever made for sure, but it's definitely a lot smaller than most of the phones that are available today. If you're interested in digital minimalism and are trying to spend less time on your device, or if you just miss the smaller form factor of older smartphones, this might be a good way for you to go. Now the screen is by no means too small to be usable, but it's definitely not designed for content consumption in the same way that those larger phones are. Now I'm going to make no bones about it. The unfortunate part about the size of this thing, which is very much a pro, is the con that the battery sucks. Now I work in the film industry in Canada, and I need to use my phone to control many different things, from cameras to monitors to gimbals and more. In most videos that you see about these phones, people are going to tell you that the battery's bad and that you got to get a power bank of some kind. Now Apple used to sell a MagSafe power bank, which they released concurrently with the iPhone 12 mini. This thing worked uniquely, but it had a very small capacity and it's no longer available. So if you wanted one today, you're going to be buying it secondhand. And as I've told you, with buying a small battery like this secondhand, that's not really the way to go in my opinion. So the one tool which has become indispensable to me as a 13 mini power user on the job is a MagSafe power bank. Now there are a lot of MagSafe power bank options out there, but one of the great ones, one who I actually asked to be the sponsor of today's video, is INIU. My girlfriend and I have had an INIU power bank that we've used to keep our phones topped up through the day, but I really wanted a MagSafe one that could be magnetized to the back of my 13 mini so I could use it all the time. This is the P73 model, which is a 10,000 milliamp Qi 2 charger. This thing's a little bit bigger than my 13 mini, and it honestly makes it a little bit of a 13 Maxi, but I'm okay with that. Because of how much I use my phone on the job, capacity of this charger was the priority. And with my case on my 13 mini, it adds a little bit more bulk anyway, so this thing doesn't have that much overhang. A couple weeks ago, I was shooting a music video and I was using this thing as a wireless monitor on my camera all day. And even though I did have the phone on and active for the better part of a 12-hour day, because this thing has such a good magnetic connection, I was able to keep this thing clipped onto the back and charging it all the while. The INIU charger also has 2 USB-C ports, which can send power in both directions. If you're like me, keeping the battery on your mini practically all day, then you essentially are getting a USB-C upgrade. If you'd like to pick up one of these power banks for yourself, then check out my link in the description. So once you've got the battery issue dealt with, I think you've pretty much overcome the biggest problem with the 13 mini. And honestly, folks, I think there's a bunch of different reasons why this is a great value iPhone right now. One of the main reasons is the security updates and support that you're going to get from this device. For all of the things that Apple does that I don't care for, the one thing that I really do appreciate about them is how long they give security patches to their devices. If the 13 mini is considered old, then many of the ancient iPhones are still getting support here in 2025, and Apple will continue to give security patches to many of them into 2026. But it's very likely that Apple will continue giving security patches to this thing for at least 2 years, but maybe up to 2030. One of the reasons that I really liked this device was because of the shape. I like that it's a similar shape to the iPhone 5 or the iPhone SE original, except it has that full-size screen without the home button. This phone also has more modern features than even the SE 3rd generation. First off, you're getting 2 cameras and better cameras than what you could find on the SE. Now, I will say that there is 2 too much hype around iPhone cameras in general. Every year, everybody says that the new iPhone cameras are the best cameras ever and that cameras are finally obsolete because phone cameras can do it better. And honestly, folks, I call BS on that because this is a camera that I carry around just as my everyday carry snapping photos camera. This is a Panasonic GF1 that was made in 2009. It is a micro four thirds sensor, 16 megapixel camera, and it smokes the iPhone 17. It doesn't matter how good they get on the computational end of the photography. If you don't have a full-size multi-element piece of glass on there, a good quality lens, you're just not going to get as good of a photo. So please do not get confused and think that you need to get the newest iPhone just for the photos, because this camera was only 170 or 180 Canadian dollars. The lens itself maybe is another $150. So we're still like $350 or less for this camera. And this camera is from 2009 and it has smoked every iPhone up to the current one. Whereas if you would have gotten the 15 Pro and spent $2,000 on it, Apple will tell you it's vintage when it's 2 years old. Now with that big reality check out of the way of what phone cameras can do, this thing is pretty good as far as phone cameras are concerned, especially for that everyday snapshot thing. Again, talking about that idea of the sweet spot with this phone compared to other iPhone models, this one doesn't have the photo styles mode that you see on some of the newer phones, but you can adjust the warmth and the contrast. I am not somebody who likes to shoot raw photos on my big cameras or on my phones. I like to shoot JPEGs, just get the shot in camera and then be done with it. And just having that little bit of control, being able to adjust the warmth and the contrast in the phone itself, it just gives me JPEGs that I'm happier with. Because as far as Apple and its fans are concerned, the 13 mini is getting a little long in the tooth. The price has plummeted. I paid like $350 or $400 for this just a year ago, but nowadays you can get this device for like 200 Canadian dollars. To me, to be able to get this device for like $200 or even like $150 or $120 American nowadays, that just seems like a crazy deal for a device that is this modern still. Again, compared to the SE 3rd generation, we have 2 cameras and better cameras. We have a more modern design with no home button. We have MagSafe charging. We have Apple support, which we know is going to last for years to come. Like I said, for me, the biggest drawbacks of this device is the battery life and the fact that it doesn't have USB-C. But if you pick up a MagSafe battery like the INIU one I mentioned, then you're going to solve both of those things. So would I recommend the iPhone 13 mini in very late 2025 and even 2026? I'd say yeah. As a digital minimalist, some of the negatives of this device can actually be points of friction, which might be a good thing for you. The battery life means that you're not going to get nearly as much screen on time, which should reduce your screen time. Likewise, this phone has a tendency to get a little bit hot, which is going to limit how far you can go down the rabbit hole. I do think in comparison to the larger phones that we have today, the screen size of this does make it a little less enticing for content consumption. I also enable grayscale mode on here too, which makes it all the more boring. Another phone which could compete with the iPhone 13 mini is this Unihertz Jelly Star. This is a phone that I've talked about before on the channel, and I will link that video above. Side by side, you can see that the Jelly Star is truly mini. If you really want to not be enticed by a phone because of how small the screen size is, then this is the direction you really want to go. But when I talked about security patches and Apple supporting this thing and keeping it safe to use into the future, Unihertz is really not doing a good job in this regard. They haven't given this thing a security patch in a couple of years now, so I wouldn't be putting banking apps or anything really important on this thing. To me, that makes the Jelly Star more of a secondary device which you might take with you if you want to go somewhere, have a communication tool and not be distracted, but it's not something that I would want to daily drive. And again, folks, that's why I think that if you're not looking to get a super niche device, but you still want a more mini portable smartphone, something that kind of fits that more nostalgic style of something like the iPhone SE or the 5, then the 13 mini is still very much a great option. I think it is still very relevant today, and especially given the price, you can't go wrong. I really wish one of the major smartphone manufacturers would get back to making a small device like this. The only thing that I think is comparable nowadays are one of the modern flip phones that you're seeing from Samsung or Motorola. Now, I think those modern flip phones, they're cute, they're innovative, and they're interesting, but I think they just lag behind a little bit as far as manufacturing quality goes. I've been interested in trying one of the Razrs, but every time I see one secondhand, there seems to be something wrong with it. I still don't think we're at a point where there can be a folding phone that's super high quality. So as far as small, reliable smartphones go, I think the Mini is the best option. But now I'd be interested in hearing from you guys. Let me know in the comment section if you have any experience with the iPhone 12 or 13 mini. Are you still daily driving it today, or have you moved on to something else? And do you recommend it for somebody in 2026? How hopeful are you that Apple is going to release a mini something in the near future? Because I got my fingers crossed. Thanks again to INIU for partnering with me on this video. I really appreciate the support, and thank you very much for watching, folks. I will see you in the next one.